had some coffee this morning, so I've been pretty much ready all morning. Uh, you know, up against three or up since three. Uh, Once again, um, welcome. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. I'm glad to see that you've made it. This is the week of Thanksgiving here in America, and that usually means that people just stop doing what they're doing. Um, you know, they're not doing their traditional thing, so things are kind of wonky or out of rhythm, but not really. It's kind of like a reset phase. Um, I'm noticing a little bit of a raised tension. I guess that's a good way to describe it in the collective vibration. And so I figured I'd come on and do a meditation and see if I can't do my part and shaking this thing away. So some of you sensitive people may you may have been, oh shit, you don't even have to be sensitive to be feeling this at this point. You may be feeling really tight and tense, and if like no matter what you do, you like, even if you exercise, you meditate, you stretch, you like hang out with your friend, like drink, smoke weed, whatever you do, and even if you're doing all those things, it still seems like it's not going away. I guess I'll just get into it and start saying what it is. So this has been something that was prophesized, right? The 2012. A lot of people thought the world was going to end. People went kind of crazy. Nostradamus kind of talked about it. The Mayans talked about it. And basically, it's the end of an eon, right? Or I think that's how it goes. The age of I think we're entering into the age of Aquarius or something like that. And basically, it's just the way the universe is divided up. Like, there's actually sections that you go through, and it's on a cycle of like 12,000 years or 36,000 years, and there's cycles within cycles. And so 2012 was the end of a cycle and the start of a new one. And the cycle that ended was basically the growth cycle, the like, not even the growth cycle, like the introductory cycle. They say that they'll call it the Dark Ages, right? Just like we call the time before the Enlightenment the Dark Ages. This is actually the Dark Ages for not our civilization, but for humanity. And we're coming out of it. And when you're coming out of things, the perfect representation of this that just came into my head was the coal miners, I think in Brazil or Colombia or Chile, where like all 32 of them were saved. I'm screwing this up because so the law of one always teaches you that like there's distortions and everything, and so reference what I'm saying and look it up to see that it's true, because I'm not a perfect channel and I'm not 100% clear. So the things that I say are going to be misconstrued, but they're going to be generally there. And so another thing that you want to recognize is that these teachings, not the ones that I'm giving, the teachings that everybody is giving. If you look around and look for teachings, you'll know that they're all kind of coming together and saying the same thing, right? And so that's a part of this shift. And basically, it's the idea that like, even though we experience duality, and right now it seems like there's Cryon says the contrast has been turned up, right? So it seems like light is more light, dark is more dark. So it seems like things might be more darker now, but it's only because the dark age ended, there's new light here, right? And so we're literally sitting in between two spaces, and that's why they seem so crazy, right? Like polarized, right? That's what they say, polarized. Well, polarization is actually moving from one end of the spectrum to the other. That's all polarization is. And actually, you want things to be polarized because it's in that dichotomy that you can actually have true understanding. And so That's part of what has been taught to me that as I've been going through this, and I've been I've been going through this for a while, and so and I still question these simple things. Like I posted, a month and a half ago, like how do you forgive true evil? Like how do you actually forgive true evil? And the answer is like you don't need to. It's not up to you to do that, right? And so the real teaching is that Nietzsche actually said this in his book Beyond Good and Evil. There is a layer beyond good and evil, and actually Viktor Frankl comes to this point too, right? And so it's not actually about trying to use the light to overpower the dark, or about the war, or like anything like that. It's about transcending above that. And what Jesus says is that you actually transcend into the Christ mind when you leave the world of duality. So even if you think that you're in the light, you're still in the world of duality. And it's that right there, by trying to push against it. The Tao says, give evil nothing to resist, right? So you don't want to push against it, because that's how you make it stronger, right? So actually what you want to do is rise above, right? And so people say that all the time, rise above, rise above. What they mean when they're saying that is rise above into your higher awareness, your higher faculties. So we all have these in our brains. The prefrontal cortex is the root of the higher faculties. It's actually the roots of the tree of life, right? And so technically they connect to your soul, right? Which is then fed by God. So it's funny because I got into this with I'm just sitting here just watching how these things all work together. We've been doing heart meditations lately, and we talked about how when your heart's disconnected from your brain, your brain basically goes into a state of survival and is in limbic response, essentially. And this can put your nervous system into overdrive and really make you live an uncomfortable life. But the thing is what it also does is it takes the blood flow away from your higher faculties. And so it literally robs your conscious mind of power by taking the blood away and putting it into the limbic root of your body, right? And so the heart is actually the next level of chakra clearing, energy cleansing. Like it's that thing that actually gets you to that, right? And so the hardest part about spirituality is realizing that you actually have to love in order to get anywhere with it. You have to love yourself, and you have to love others as yourself. And Jesus said this, but doesn't mean we all listen, right? Doesn't mean we practice it. And it quite possibly is the hardest thing in life to do, and it's supposed to be. It's literally the only reason that you're here, is to learn to remember how to love yourself and how to love others as yourself, and to recognize that there is no duality, there's no distinctions, there's no separations, right? And so the point of what I don't even remember how this fucking started. So that being said, I've been sensing that the energy is getting more intense. And to the uninitiated, this might seem like, first of all, the uninitiated might think it's their problem to fix. And while you can do work within yourself to improve yourself, and you can always do something to improve the present situation, it's not necessarily your responsibility to solve the whole problem, right? And so some of us feel like we have to control the environment, right? In order to feel okay. And what my guides are telling me is that you're no longer supposed to do that. And actually, if you do, you're going to be getting more issues that are brought to the surface for you to contend with. And every time you do it, they're going to become bigger and bigger and more prevalent. And so actually the way to do this and the way to handle this is to first sink into your heart, right? So you always want to take a deep breath and come back to your heart. And believe me, I know how fucking hard this is, right? I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying this is, the quick, simple fix to feeling better. That's not what I'm saying, right? But what I am saying is the more that you try to control your environment, the more you're going to get taken for a ride. Because the things that are at play here are much bigger than you and I. And the changes that are going on are fucking way bigger than us. And if we try and hold on to these things that we think are permanent or unmoving, we're going to end up being like Mount St. Helens when it erupted and the side fell off. Like, it's going to rip us apart, right? And so the best thing that we can do is learn how to be comfortable in our environment, right? And so it always comes back to the simplest things. Stop focusing on the external things and trying to control them, and focus on your internal reality and make your foundation more stable, right? Make your triggers less triggering. Make your emotional responses less emotional, right? Make yourself less reactive, right? And these might seem like really big, hard things to do, but really it's so simple to practice. It's almost too simple to practice, because in fact it's so simple that you could actually argue that you don't need to practice, and then you can justify not practicing it because it is so simple. But to a practitioner, it's really easy to know when someone's not practicing, right? I used to be in band, and I never fucking practiced, mostly because my parents didn't want to hear me play the instrument. But whenever I'd show up to band class and I'd take out my book, they'd notice that I was at the same spot I left off at in the class the day before, and they're like, "Yo, you're not practicing?" And I'm like, I'm practicing, dude. I'm definitely practicing. They're like, "How come you're not getting any better?" And I'm like, you got me there. I don't know why I'm not getting any better. Maybe I just suck, right? Maybe I suck, and no, it's because I wasn't practicing. It's funny because I just made a poll on LinkedIn where I was basically asking, like, what do you value more, talent or hard work? I should have said talent or practice, right? So you're not going to be, the more that you focus on trying to feel better by making the things outside of you quote unquote comfortable. For me, what I do is I sweep all the time. I'm fucking constantly sweeping the floor, right? Because I figure if I sweep the floor, at least I won't have to get irritated because the floor is dirty and I walk around with bare feet and my yoga mat gets dirty. Super simple, super nonchalant. Like, that seems like it makes sense. But every time I sweep the floor, I know that I'm robbing myself of an opportunity to get stronger. Just like I talked about in pretty sure it was the last meditation. I'm robbing myself of the opportunity to get stronger because what I really should be doing is sitting down in the dirt and getting comfortable with that. Right? And even saying that, I have a response to it because I'm like, fuck, man, I gotta do that shit again. Like, I came from the dirt. I am the fucking dirt. Like, why do I have to keep doing this? And I'm sure you're feeling that too, right? Why me? How come? Why do I have to work so hard? Why are things always hard for me? And first of all, what I'm being told is for you to stop being a victim, and also that you know why things are hard for you. And that's something that we don't like to hear. But I know why things are hard for me, and even when I say it, people are like, right? But if you look at if you've been with me my whole life, you would understand why things are hard for me, right? Like, things are hard for me for a multitude of reasons. The majority of them first of all, I choose for things to be hard. And the reason I do is so that I understand the quote unquote difficulty of them, so I can teach others how to overcome it. And that's my role on Earth. That's what it's always been. And you know, the shit that I went through to fucking learn to overcome, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, right? But you also went through shit too to learn to overcome, and you wouldn't wish it on anybody, right? So, but if you look back, like, and somebody said, hey, I'll make it so that stuff never happened, but you don't get to have all these cool insights and strengths that come from this thing. Yeah, there's a 50-50 chance that you would not give it back, right? And I think it was Tony Robbins that said, how is the worst thing that ever happened to you actually the best? And, like, the audacity to ask that question makes me want to punch people in the face, right? Like, that's the visual feeling that I get when I think of it. But if you really sit and think of it, like, isn't that what you're trying to do? Isn't that what we're all here trying to do? Learn how to overcome, right? Learn how to be strong. Learn how to make it, right? All of these things that we talk about, if those things never happened, if life wasn't so hard, where would we get the inner fortitude from? Where would we get our self-respect, our values from? And the perfect illustration of this is you can clearly see the people who have had easy lives, the people who haven't necessarily had to overcome anything, the people who have had everything handed to them. And you can see their values. You can see the way they live their life. You can see the people they interact with, the relationships they hold. They're a lot more hollow than your experience, right? If you try to get somebody to go in depth about what they've experienced, most likely they can't, or they can only tell you one side of it, right? That's not a true experience. So there are a lot of people in this world who, you know, just by circumstance, maybe they chose it, maybe they didn't, who don't have the opportunity to overcome. And you might feel like, yeah, but I don't have any fucking opportunities, period. Right? Like, I didn't get accepted to college. You know, maybe I failed out of fucking high school. Like, I'm working 3 fucking jobs and I still can't pay my rent. Right? Like, what are you talking about opportunity? Well, you have the opportunity to learn how to work 3 jobs and pay your rent. You have the opportunity to learn how to be successful even though you didn't get into college. Right? It's funny because, you know, I have this perspective and people always talk to me like, oh, the way you think, or, you know, you're always so whatever, right? And the reality is because I've always been excluded. So it's like, yo, of course, when you've been excluded your whole life, right, from groups, people, society, whatever, aren't you going to think a little differently? Aren't you going to be a little different? Aren't you going to act a little different? And why is that a bad thing? Something that, you know, Chelsea and I were talking the other day, and she saw a sign for a school that used to be an all-boys school, and now they're accepting women. And she went to an all-girls school, and she was wondering if, because her school was the sister school of that school, and she was wondering if her school, the one she went to, was going to start accepting men. And we had a really high-level conversation that was like a really short one, but I kind of wanted to break it down because, you know, there's something here, and I'm not exactly sure, so you're gonna have to work with me on this one, right? When you've been excluded all your life, the I or for whatever, when you've been excluded, the natural reaction is to band together with other people who have been excluded, and then exclude the people who have excluded you, right? And so that's the way things were typically working. But now, because the structures are changing and the values are changing as well, both inside and outside those structures, the traditionally cloistered, separated, exclusive structures are no longer such. And actually, they had to flip the script, and their new claim to relevance is we're actually not that way anymore, right? So if you used to be an all-boys school, you're no longer all boys, you're now accepting women, right? But here's the thing. So as power shifts, what happens is the original segregees, the ones who were segregated originally, they now have their group, but they don't include the original people that were originally segregating them, right? And whether it's by nature, whether it's subconscious, whether it's conscious, whether it's loudly proclaimed or subconsciously held, the energy of separation is still there, right? And so as much as people want to talk about, I can't even have the word in my head because it's a made up word, but diversity, it's not diversity, it's another word that the social academics are using, and basically it's the idea that, like, as diverse cultures and communities come together, they interlock and frame and create something stronger, right? And that's true, but what they actually do is they interlock and frame to create a power vacuum, to oppose the traditional power structures. And this is why you start getting polarity, right? And stuff like this happens all the time, happens in general, it happens. And I don't even necessarily have an opinion on it, right? But I think it's interesting because stuff like this we see happen all the time where, the South Africa, Nelson Mandela, right? So the oppressed then has the opportunity to become the oppressor, right? And it's in that choice that you kind of define the next 30 years, right? And I just want us all to recognize that there is no more need for this exclusion, for this separation, for this label, like they call it identity politics, politics in general, right? There's no more need for this. It's going to be hard, might be hard for you, but it's definitely going to be hard for a lot of people to consciously realize it and then hold it as the truth in their heart. But the thing is it's already there, right? And so it's up to people like you and I to just say little things that make that person recognize it or tweak it or whatever. And it doesn't even have to be like a full-on conversation argument. You can just say one little thing and then just walk away. They call it planting seeds, right? Ideas are seeds, and they grow in the fertile of the subconscious, right? In the soil of the subconscious. And so you just plant an idea and walk away and let that thing do its thing, and eventually it'll grow into that specific thing for that specific person, right? But it's not about trying to fix things on the outside. It's not about that. Like, once again, I'm being told, focus on this, because the more you continue to try and change external things to fit your idealization of what reality should be, the further away you will get from your actual intended goal of progress. And also the message is to be grateful for what you have. Gary Vee says, the only way you have a right to complain is if you're there's 7.4 billion people on Earth. If you're the 7.4 billionth person on Earth, then you have a right to complain. Because otherwise, there's always somebody that has it worse off than you. And I went to a lot of therapy growing up, and this is something that I always used to say. Because I know it's the truth, and it helped me understand or conceptualize what I was going through, right? And so therapists will say, yeah, but your experience, but you still went through, and those things are both true, right? So the but is there, and then the, well, if someone is living worse than me, that's still there too. And that's for you to figure out how to deal with that, right? And so you always have the two things to look at. You're always given a choice, and that's the opportunity of free will, right? It's the choice to look at the light or the dark. And then it's also the choice to not look at either, recognize them as part of the same system, and rise above. Perfect conceptualization of this is the theory of spiral dynamics. It has a longer name, but I don't want to talk about it. I just want to introduce that idea to you because it's becoming more relevant now than ever. And with that, let's give thanks and meditate. To the Divine Supreme Father, Mother, to all the holy angels, archangels, helpers, holy helpers, mystics, shamans, spirits, alive and not alive, to all the beings in the high, low, and in between realms, we humbly ask for your divine blessing. Once again, this message only goes out to those beings who have devoted their lives or incarnations to service to the one infinite creator. Okay. If you felt that energy shift, leave a comment below. All right, from here, we're going to do a nice quick meditation. Go ahead, press on your palms. Tap right here. Tap right here. And all we are going to do, take a deep breath. Yeah, we just started. One breath. I'm going to take two more. Take another one. Hold it. One more. Inhale. So I'm being told that this is going to be a guided meditation. You don't need to worry about doing anything. It's all going to be done for you. So just go ahead and put your hands on your lap. Actually, first let's bless the earth. Which, fuck it. Just because they say we don't have to do anything doesn't mean we don't have to. Let's bless the earth. Put your hands out in front of you. Go ahead and tap your palms. Tap. Tap her hair. Tap her hair. Tap her hair. Do some general sweeping. Cleanse yourself a little bit. Make sure your hands are light up. Just imagine they're glowing. Pick your favorite color. Okay. So what we're gonna do is just bless the earth real quick, sending loving intention out. And as we do this, we're imagining violet light radiating out of us and eventually surrounding the whole world, right? So as we put the light in front of us, it's also coming out of us and then going around the world. So this is technically a hologram, okay? So go ahead and put your hands in front of you. Look in between your hands. Don't look at what is in between your hands, but look in between them. As you're looking in between them, make sure your eyes are open. Use your imagination and picture the earth in front of you. If you don't know what the earth looks like, just Google earth on Google Images and there's a picture for you. So take that and just spin it. Nice and slow, not too fast, you'll get dizzy. Remember, the earth spins slow as fuck. You shouldn't feel any energy coming off the earth. Like, it shouldn't feel like it's fucking spinning really fast. It should just be there. And what we're going to do is, now that we have it in place, we're literally just going to send loving intention out from our hands and out from our heart, and try to just surround the whole world. Picture the people you love, picture the people in your family, picture the people you hate, picture the people that yelled at you. All of those people, entities, souls, picture them all in front of you and just give them a blessing. We shower you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. We humbly express our gratitude and our appreciation for the experience that you have allowed us to go through your co-creation with us through this incarnation. We hope, expect, and appreciate the love and the light that you share with us, and bless you in the love and the light and in the peace of God. Keep looking. Remember, don't look at anything in particular. If you notice like some haziness or you can't really focus on anything or it seems like there's something there, just keep sending out love to it. What you're actually doing is manifesting basically a shield of energy to go around the earth. So you might feel something in your hands, you might smell something, you might taste something, you might feel heat or a little warmth. It's not your blood rushing to your hands, it's actually the energy you're generating. Keep sending it out, keep sending it out, keep sending it out. Okay, from here, go ahead, take your hands, put them on your lap. Go ahead and close your eyes. Or keep them open, it's totally up to you. I'm going to close mine. From here, everything will be done for you. I'm going to chant 3 times to open the portal. You can feel free to chant with me, but this is also being done for you. You are in a sacred space. Just be receptive. Just sit back. Just be receptive. If you hear anything, if you feel anything, if you notice anything, that thing is a stimulus to push you closer into this state of love, connection, safety, and bliss. This state is available to you at all times. If only you can love yourself enough to take the time to find this space. Just 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 30 seconds, 5 seconds. That's all it really takes. Just a little bit of effort, a hope, a wish. You don't have to do all the work. There is so much more going on for you than you understand. We have all been brought here today to gather collectively in the light and love of the one infinite creator. We understand that there is one God, there is one creator, there is one source of energy. It does not make us right or wrong or others right or wrong, but we know the truth. And this truth is what gives us our grounding and our stability throughout our life. When things are crumbling at the seams, when buildings are falling and structures are resorting to sand and nothing seems the way it used to be or no longer makes sense, there is one thing that always stays the same: the love of God. What we know as the truth. What we may choose to deny, but we still understand as the truth. As we get older, we recognize God's love in all of our experience, but we don't see it in our day-to-day reality. When you make the choice to live in the infinite now, to live from your heart, to breach intelligent infinity and finally make true connection with Source, you no longer have to make a choice of what to do or how to do it or who to meet or who to talk to, what to read, what to watch. Once you make the choice, the curriculum is outlined for you. It's up to you to take the curriculum, but it's always going to be presented in the way that you need it. Now, if you make the choice and then decide to go back, there are going to be issues. Just like there's punishment in school, there's punishment in spirituality. Now, it's not God doing it to you. God would never do this. It's you doing it to yourself. Do you remember that thing that you said you were going to do, but you didn't do it? The promise you made to yourself, but you never pulled it off? That goal that you wanted to achieve, but couldn't quite see it through? These are the things that we talk about. These are the things that are being offered to you as a curriculum, and your failure to complete the curriculum is the cause of all of your suffering in your life. The rejection of the curriculum doesn't make it any less true or mandatory. Now, it is possible for you to choose the service to self path and completely waylay this curriculum. However, you need to understand that whether it's in this lifetime, the next, or 100 lifetimes from now, the curriculum will be taught to you, and you will have to take it. You may take a detour. You may have fun. You may do things that seem like they're so heavenly. But understand that this service to self path is a lonely one. And though there may be others surrounding you, they are also serving themselves. And it is this service to self path that creates the corrosion that we see in our society. It is this ego-based consciousness that seems to follow us to the fifth dimension that does not separate. But as we go forward and down that dark hole of self-service, ego-based consciousness, and others crowd around us, instead of collaborating and working together, we begin to ostracize each other and decay. Entropy, as defined by the scientists, is the nature of any system to naturally decay. It is the randomness in a system that creates the issues. This randomness in a system is only derived by a service to self and an ego-based consciousness based in separation. Now it is up to you to make the choice, whether you're on this planet or the next, to rise above into a higher state of consciousness that you have all breached before. So it's not a question of if it's possible. It's a question of whether you're willing to do what it takes to maintain that state of consciousness. We all know what it's like to be in flow. What if you could live your whole life in that? What if you could live life as effortlessly as some people seem to live, but actually live it that effortlessly? It is this gift, along with the gifts of the universe, that are being offered to you right now. Now, this might seem odd or strange because of where it's coming from, but you know the truth. You know just as well as he does. These gifts have been offered to you your whole life. You just haven't chose to open them. And it is with this opening of the gifts that you might think that God has cursed you because he gives you an apple with a worm in it. The gift seems to be a curse. But remember, to the ego mind, everything is an attack, especially a gift from God. The ego was born in separation, out of loss, out of fear, out of necessity. But as you come closer to God, the ego becomes less necessary and more malleable. So allow God to teach you how to treat your ego like a pet, how to domesticate it, how to teach it how to be nice. Don't you wish that was the case? A nice ego? Wouldn't that be cool? A loving ego? Who said these things aren't possible? Nobody said this. Nobody said that negative traits had to be associated with the ego. That's just human nature, my friends. We love to cast our shadow on others and call it their issue. The time for this is done. As we sit with the message that has just been channeled, a gift is also being delivered to you in your hands with a scroll and a seal. You can choose to read it now or later in your own time. It's up to you. But this gift is for you and you alone. Do not read it with anyone else, for if you try, it will disappear. And so it is. I'm also being told that one of these gifts is metaphysical in nature, and it might be a book or something, but you're going to have to study it, I don't know, outside of your waking consciousness, whatever that means to you. We're just going to chant Om 3 times to close the portal. Let's give thanks to Divine Supreme Mother God, to all the holy angels, archangels, saints, sages, mystics, spirits, masters, ascended masters, shamans, witches, any and all entity who has previously served us that has also devoted their life or incarnation to the one infinite creator. We thank you and especially appreciate with immense gratitude for your service and the help that you've been providing us lately. We recognize the symbols, we see the symbols, we understand who they are, we understand who you are, we know who you are in truth, we know what you are in truth, and we know how you serve in truth. It is through this that we recognize our truth that allows us to know who we are in truth, know how we are in truth, and know who we are in truth, know what we are in truth, and know how we serve in truth. And it is with this that we make the choice to become free, to become free, to become free. Okay, just go ahead and slowly come back into your body. That should have been grounding enough. Why don't you just go ahead and point your hands down. Send any remaining love energy you have down to the earth. And try to hold on to it. Be greedy, because it's just going to turn you into a negative, bitter person. So send it all out. Get out. This was supposed to be a nice short meditation. I don't know what happened with that. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you. Hope this was helpful. I don't have much to say after that. So I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you before then. And namaste.